Welcome to the Let's Go Recovery podcast, where we investigate sobriety and beyond that, explore solutions to help us heal at the core, where the root of our problems like addiction or alcoholism begin. We hope you hear something in today's podcast that ignites a change in your life.
I'm here today with a local Arizona iconic sports broadcaster, currently the dean of Arizona high school sports, had a luxurious career in sports, but today we're going to jump right into the story of my friend. Welcome to the show, Kevin McCabe. Thanks for being on.
And thanks for having. Did you run out of guests? Is that finally you like a cube of crot? Oh, okay, we'll do Kevin McCabe.
Actually, I couldn't take it anymore. They were like, hey, the social outcry was I have to get you on the show.
Me.
Right. I mean, you've been doing this for over 40 years in Arizona.
Yeah.
Is that right?
It's pretty scary. When I 44 years, and I've been lucky at so much of it, but to think that it's 2/3 of my life that I've spent covering high schools, but all sports throughout those years, but mainly now high schools. But I've had a wonderful, unbelievable ride. One I would never have dreamt of.
Yeah, you started out at NAU.
Yep.
You play college sports. You're on the hockey team.
Yeah.
I know that. That's super, kind of cool to think back. Man, I was playing hockey back when the miracle happened, right?
Yeah, it was great in 1980, and I think I got a bunch of free beers out of that, and some chicks would date me because they thought somehow we were tied to the U.S. Olympic hockey team. But I was the weird kid from Arizona who grew up here playing hockey. My best friend was the star of Arizona hockey. He was the Austin Matthews before that, and we both went up to Western Canada, went to camps up there, and he had a better career than I did, but I played at NAU. I'm still the weird kid, I think. But it was a great experience, I still have friends that we keep in contact. We've got a chat texting thing going on and still laugh at the fun things we did. But was lucky enough to come out of there, too, with a broadcast degree. And this is 1981. There was no Netflix or Hulu or Fubo, or there's streaming. No, there was 3 networks. And I was lucky enough in Flagstaff that NBC had a TV station, the smallest TV station in the world, and they hired me to do weekend sports.
Wow, that's cool. And then I know you went from Flagstaff to Tucson. You said you thought you'd arrive, but you get a call one day and you get a job at Fox, Arizona.
Yeah.
Like, you're the Fox guy. You're a sportscaster on TV for a lot of years, and you arrived.
You know what? That's a great, because I really enjoyed my time in Flagstaff. I felt like a rookie ball. In Tucson, I built some great memories down there. Lute Olson had arrived and Steve Kerr, and we were covering Pac-10. They're in a Final Four team that year in '88. But yeah, that was the goal, was to make it to the big leagues. And Phoenix was a big major market, and they had all the pro sports. And so 1990, got the call January 1990. Yeah, it was, and it was coming home. I'd grown up here. I was covering sports in a place that I knew. I'd watched the Suns as a kid since '68 and Jerry Colangelo. The Roadrunners had become the Coyotes, and the Cardinals, the Phoenix Cardinals had become the. So there's And I was okay, but better yet, I was a big deal. I joke with people. I say, "You've seen the movie Anchorman?" And they laugh. Yeah, it's hilarious. And I go, "Well, that was our lives. That was because there was only 3 states. People were waiting for the 10 o'clock news. They didn't get it on their phone and or on Twitter or text or." So you were waiting for highlights at 10 o'clock, waiting for Kevin McCabe to show up in your living room or your bathroom or your bedroom, watching me on doing sports. So it was a glorious time of sports, of television. I had a great run. Yeah, I was. Yeah,
You were the big deal.
come on now,
Right.
But you know what? I've come to realize that that's what I was, and I've seen it now in sports. The great athletes that I've come to admire are saying, that's what I do, it's not who I am. And I've come to realize that now. But I realized that I was an egomaniac with an inferiority complex, and this drove everything I did. Going to get the next story, be the lead, be the number one story, get the exclusive interview, to get people to watch. And so it drove me a little crazy, but it fueled everything I did in my life. I got married and had a bunch of 5 kids, but the work and the drive of that was still first in my life.
Yeah, you talk a lot about what kind of arriving, and that sort of chase leads you down some places. Give me a little bit about like the behind the scenes stuff that we don't see. I see you on TV, you pop on, you say, hey, here we are. Tell me what that looks like and what kind of path that leads you down. Obviously, you're on a recovery podcast. We're going to get into some of your story about that. But what does that look like, those behind the scenes? What do we not know about some of that sort of stuff?
Well, they've done news. They've done movies about this, the pressures and the drive and, the time. When the news starts at 6 o'clock, it starts at 6 o'clock, not 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 30 seconds in. It's on. I mean, I laugh. I joked as I sat down here because I did an hour-long show with Charles Barkley in the NBA Finals or playoffs during 1992. Charles Barkley, one of my dearest friends. I love this man and still do to this day. But I prepped a whole hour around him. He was going to do highlights with me. We're on the road in Portland. Okay, it's now 8:55, and, he's no sign of Charles. I'd asked him, are you going to be there? Yeah, I got you, little man. And it's now 9 o'clock. No Charles. We're sitting in the same kind of, but in the lobby of a hotel. All of a sudden, it's bum, 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 bum. Now here's Sports Night with Kevin McCabe and live from Portland with the Suns playoffs. The doors open up to the hotel. Charles comes walking in, climbs over the couch, puts the microphone on. What's up, little man? You ready to go? And proceeds to do an hour of show. But the pressures leading up to that, the time, you have 3 minutes for a sportscast, not 3 minutes and 15 seconds. You got to get the interview. You got to get Randy Johnson. You got to get Larry Fitzgerald. What's he saying about this today? There was a pressure to be number one, to get the ratings, and I saw it in sports. I felt like I was competitive. I played college hockey. I was competitive, and I saw athletes doing. And you've known this. You've seen these athletes that they're just driven and focused to do this at the highest level, and I missed a lot because of that. But again, it fueled my ego, and it also fueled my insecurities and fueled my alcoholism, which ultimately led me to this stage.
Thank God you were an alcoholic, because then you get to be on the show. Here we go.
Nothing to do with 44 years of covering high school. No, it's great. Because it is my story, and I didn't realize it until now, until I'm closing in on 9 years sober, is that it fueled my lifestyle because it allowed you to sleep in the morning. TV sportscaster's day doesn't begin till you get up around 10, have some coffee. You may go to a practice that morning, do some interviews, go have lunch, work out, then go into the station about 2 o'clock. You do a 5 and a 6 o'clock newscast. You got some time to go have dinner or go to a game and go to a sun. You went to all these games. You had the greatest seats and the greatest access. And then you do the 10 o'clock news. And at 10:30, and I use this as an excuse a long time ago. Most people's jobs, you finish up your job at 5 o'clock, you wound down from 3:30 to 5, kind of winding down. Well, we built up, and at 10 o'clock, you're doing the show, you're live, you got to be on. At 10:30, okay, your day's over. Now I've got to turn it off. So that, I hit the bar, hit the bottle. The bar's closed at 1, and I usually try to. And so, but it also fueled everything I did. Everywhere I went, alcohol was part of it. Every game, every, event, there was always alcohol surrounding it. So I thought they went hand in hand. I thought that was just part of this whole package.
That's what you're signing up for.
Yeah. And to get those interviews, to be with those athletes, to get behind the red velvet, ropes, I had to be a player. I got to be a player. And it was great. It was great. And I do say this. I had, people get up and share their stories and say, I had a great run. I mean, I was really fortunate, lucky to be close to some people. It's stories that I cannot share. They're sworn to secrecy with Mike Tyson and Charles and athletes but I had that trust. But it was a fool and his money are a great time. It was a blast.
You talk about something here. You just said the word a little bit earlier, insecurity.
Oh, yeah.
How much is fueled by how Kevin feels about himself? And this is, again, back in the 90s when, the Suns are popping off, right? They're in the finals of 93, so you had some huge success. You're there. I mean, the lights are on. You're part of that sort of thing. But something shrinking away to you and in your insides were like, hey, I have to live up to this expectation, and your insecurities kick in. How does that go hand in hand with, I'm going to say, your alcoholism, your partying, your behavior? How do those go hand in hand?
Hand in hand, right, identically. And I don't know if I can liken it to any other profession, but, maybe the athletics. I joke when I spoke. I said, you see these athletes, how can they throw away millions of dollars? I said, let me show you. Let me show you how they're just constantly trying to be number one, to get the ratings, to earn the awards, to get the story, to walk over people, to be, I was not the, one of my dearest friends is Tom Leander, who works for the Suns broadcast, and Tom was my weekend sportscaster. I went back to him years later, and I said, I call him Bones. I said, Bones, was that? He goes, oh yeah, you were. He goes, but you taught me so many different things of how to find the unique way to tell a story. So there was some, but I walked over people. It was a different era of news, chasing. There weren't so many outlets, and you had to be first and get the story and tell it uniquely. So my insecurity was worrying that I was going to miss the story. I had to be ubiquitous, be everywhere, be at every practice, and I did. And it was great. I loved every minute. I did love every minute of it. But I do see that there were some other things that were probably more important. I missed kids' games, and athletes will tell you that all the time. They've gotten more elite where they'll miss the birth of their child. No, I would never miss anything like that. But missing kids' performances or the church graduation or so I missed a lot of that stuff. I mean, I haven't asked my kids, which I've come back to them now, and I said, I wasn't the worst dad in America, but it was occasionally in that conversation. How's that?
I think about that. You talk about time, right? That's what your job is, driving your time, right?
Yep.
So much of it is like a scheduled, regimented.
Yep.
You've got to be here, probably pulling in multiple different directions. But that time is still measured in a 24-hour period, 60 minutes in every hour. So you only have this much time, and the sacrifices that you have to give are, in this case, your family.
Yep.
You've got 5 kids, you've got a wife, and you're not participating in their life. On July 11th, I'm sorry, 2015.
7-Eleven.
7-Eleven. I don't know if you did that because of its luck.
No.
It's a sign, but tell me a little bit about, July 11th, 2015, and how your life changed and gives us the opportunity to be even talking here together today.
Well, 7-Eleven, I always joke because I bought so much booze and beer at 7-Eleven, or I waited for the dope dealer there, but I did that at Circle K and Skaggs and U-Totem and drove to Flagstaff for that. I don't know why 7-Eleven. I don't know why that. I don't remember why. You were talking about, though, I thought of this, so as you were talking, that sports lifestyle, you are there for high school sports on Friday night. Saturday, there's ASU football, U of A football. Sunday is Cardinal football, and then you go to work on Monday. I'd occasionally have a Monday or Tuesday off, and those were your days that you spend sleeping or, spending some time. Those are real quality days in your life.
Right, sure.
But I'd gotten a DUI in 2012. I'd gotten out of TV. They hire pretty young people to be on TV now, and I'm none of those. They hire pretty young girls, which I'm certainly not one of those. But I'd gotten into business development and sales, and I got a DUI coming home from our Christmas party. And I thought my life is completely ruined here. I'd gotten sloppy drinking, and I had a good drinking career. I thought I was a functioning alcoholic. Well, because I'd go home and drink, and but things were starting to spiral out of control. But I walked into the meeting the Monday morning with all these sales and business development people. They gave me a standing ovation. You're one of us. You made it. So that wasn't a reason. Then a few years later, my wife challenged me, said, you really need to quit drinking. And so I went in and I did for 90 days. I said, I can quit like anybody else. And I did. And then on the 91st day, went out and spiraled and went completely out of control. Now, this thing got really bad. I got really bad. I was very much an alcoholic, and I fueled it by some drugs to allow me to drink more and maybe sober up. I think the worst, here's a great example, though. I went to a Diamondback. I got my hip replaced in 2014, and a week later, I'm out. I'm feeling good. It did a great job of my surgeon. And so I go to a Diamondback game. Well, I stopped at Marley's, had a couple of beers, a couple of Fireballs. My car's parked there, so I go to the game. I have a few more beers, but I have oxys, everything, because I'm on pain. I got pain. Yes. And I go back to my car. I leave at the 3rd inning, because who wants to see it? Anyways, I'm sorry, Derek Hall, but it was 3 innings, and So I take a pedicab because I want to be safe. I hop out of the pedicab. My newly replaced hip breaks, the femur, the post comes out. Now I said, I think I've screwed this up. Help me into my car. Let me drive home. And please don't. I drive home, a few more Oxys, a few more Bud Lights when we were allowed to drink Bud Light, and nearly died. I didn't stop drinking because of that. That's in 2014. So that's a year later. Things continued to spiral, and I think I just woke up and I said, and this is not in my vocabulary, I surrender, I give, because I thought that was being weak. And being a sports guy, I'm not going to give. I've got to win. I've got to do the next. And I've come to realize that I give, man, and I turn my life over. That I always wanted my life back. I want to be able to go hang with the boys, play some golf, have a couple of beers. I want to go have a steak and have a glass. I can't do that. I want the life I have now, and I'm really good with that. I know it's a long way to get to where you were asking, but I don't know how 7-Eleven, but it's forever. I'm not going back.
So 7-Eleven 2015, you put down drugs and alcohol.
Yep.
You haven't turned back since. You're coming up on 9 years clean and sober.
Yeah.
The fame, the lights, the celebrity backstage pass, I'll call it, that you had in life, all those lights go off. What goes through your mind of like, now I'm just with Kevin?
Great question.
First time.
Great question. Because, when I left TV in 2008, I spiraled for about 3 years there trying to wait and get onto television and really kind of hit rock bottom. And then I realized that my rock bottom had a basement, and, had a lounge down there and alcohol. And so I'd lost who I was. Or I thought I was. I was, the TV guy. And reinvented myself in business development. And then about 2015, I'd covered high schools here since 1981. I covered guys in Flag High, won 4 state championships. And Tucson, I covered Sean Elliott from Choya High and Pat Lever, and got here and I'd covered, all the greats here, Richard Jefferson and Mike Bibby, Jefferson, Todd Heap. I said, wait a minute, I've covered high schools. Why don't I just do a high school show? And Jeremy Hadcock, who is the head coach at Blue Ridge, he won state championships and he'd won them. And he said, you need to do this. You're Arizona high school sports. So I realized it, but I also realized that sword that I had from being, yay me, Evan, you star, that I could use that sword and lift up other people and celebrate these high school kids' stories and their challenges and their road and their journey, and maybe open their eyes to recovery. Max Hall, one of the great stories. Max and I look at each other and smile just the way you and I are right now, because we've been there. We've been in a dark place, and the fact that we can now celebrate at Rock Bevel, many of these athletes, and I even watch now on the bigger stage of many of these athletes who join recovery and are seeing, and we look at each other and we smile, and maybe we don't promote it, but we know, or to see Elton John or Bradley Cooper or Joe Walsh of the Eagles. Joe Walsh and I'm not an Eagles fan, and I'm not a Joe Walsh fan, but for him to say I was an artist, I was an unbelievable guitarist, I was afraid I wouldn't know how to create without being high or stoned. And I'm going, you're one of the greatest guitarists. I didn't know how I was going to live without alcohol, because it was in every part of my life. Everything, New Year's Eve, Super Bowl, St. Patrick's Day, Valentine's Day, Arbor Day. I didn't need a reason. But I found myself and found it through AA. I know there's other programs, but I found my base there, and now I've been able to live and share it and live an unbelievable life. These 8.5 years, I took a job with Honor Health Foundation, which I never, in my wildest dreams, working for a foundation, raising money to help transform healthcare, and especially now with where healthcare is going with AI and robotics, medical cannabis. The transformation to heal people it's never been greater. And I can help raise money, use my image, my brand that I've spent 44 years lifting those people up on the high school level or in the foundation. So I'm really a happy guy. And my ego, that fuels the ego that I still have.
Sure.
And I still have some insecurity, but because I have the confidence of surrender and a higher power, who I call God, and I love him. He's the greatest cat. the God of my upbringing was a judgmental and crucifying God. And my God is this cool dude who talks to me. We talk back and forth. And so the God of my upbringing is not the God of my understanding. The God of my understanding is really a cool cat and helps me lead my life. I still screw up. God, Trace, man, I still think, okay.
That's funny. You hit on something because that's not going away. We talk about it in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. We say it as a prayer daily. It's 7-step prayer.
Yeah.
It talks about removing our character defects. And we're saying it on a morning. I haven't done drugs or alcohol in quite a few years, obviously.
Yeah.
More than I even. And you're talking about the fact that some of these things still exist.
Mm.
I still need a God that comes alongside me and said, you didn't do that great yesterday, Kevin. You didn't do that great your day yesterday, Tracy. You still have. And again, I'm sitting on this podcast wanting it to be great. Part of me is wanting it to be great so that, we can impact lives.
Yeah.
Certainly there's some importance there. But some of it still is fueling the idea that I want to win. I don't want to win at life. And how do you relate that to the humility and some of the principles of, let's say, a program, a 12-step program?
Yeah.
How do you level those against the idea that I still want to be soft? I still want to have success.
Great question.
So how do you level that against that sort of mindset of success and humility existing in the same space?
Great question. And you said it. There's still hamsters going in my head, and I joke and say that if I can get it down from 8 people talking in my head to maybe just 2 in a Zoom call, but that's my higher power. That's God that helps you with that, and the program has helped me with that. But how can I live this life of sobriety, but also the changing face of it? And again, it's supposed to be anonymous. Well, listen, I haven't been anonymous my whole life, and like you, if I can help one person, they see, hey, here's Kevin McCabe, TV boy and radio guy, and the dean of high school sports, who struggles with this every day, but has found some peace and serenity through my higher power, through God, wherever it may be. And I think, that's one of the neatest things I have found. If somebody said, finding God, I remember that God, and they said, no, man, it's like catching a butterfly. You run around chasing this thing and if you just slow down, it'll land on you. And it's landed on me. And even more so with this, there's a cat who I have great love for. He's a coach here in town. And he studied theology in college as his master in religious studies, doctorate. He teaches religion at one of the prominent schools. And yet he finds his serenity through higher power through the program. So I go, wait a minute, if this cat knows this much about religion and the book and can quote, I said, and he's coming in here and I said, okay, I'm good. And it's you, man. You fuel me. I hear God through other people. I get my hope. Hear other people's experiences. Hope. I heard your experience. I fell in love with you, man. When you came, we got together and I heard your story and I said, man, you got a lot of me in you. And I laughed at you. Sure. I laughed at you because I laughed at your, and I'm sorry, brother. I go, but you're the same idiot, man.
Exactly.
And I'm happy for you. And I'm just, like I said, if I can use this sword on my high school platform to lift up those people, but also everything that I do on social media will be lifting somebody else up and not lifting Kevin up. And I learned that from Brock Purdy, ironically, who just was in the Super Bowl. I was doing social media, high school sports, and I've seen it. I kind of got involved in it. And Brock was, I followed his story and covered him in high school and love him and his family. His dad's one of the most amazing, and his mom is Carrie and Sean are great. But he wasn't getting offers. He gets an offer from Alabama. Finally, Nick Saban offers him. And I said, oh, great. Good for you. They just won the national championship with 2 freshman quarterbacks. Good luck. And I immediately took it down. I thought to myself, Kevin, this kid just got offered by Alabama. He could go in there and beat these guys out who we don't know, but celebrate him. And I immediately pulled it down and I called Sean. And Sean Purdy, his dad, who's played baseball. Yeah. It was a great. And I said, Sean, I'm so sorry. And I'll never do it again. I'll never criticize young people. I even try not to criticize any situation. I really find hard because I want to look at all sides and realize where people are coming from. Now, if somebody's fueled strictly by money and trying to get, then I say stop, or I don't comment. Better yet, shut up. As my sponsor told me a long time ago, he goes, Kevin, say it.
It's so hard to do.
Because
I've always got I always got something to say about it.
And I do too. So
the funny thing is that the freedom that Alcoholics Anonymous gave me, and again, I got sober in the same way you did, is a 12-step program that allowed me to realize that self-centeredness, self-seeking, some of that sort of stuff, there's actually freedom in not being that. Here I was trying to puppeteer, fix, organize, and have everything go my way, lead my daughters in a certain way, like even through manipulation, like trick them into thinking this is a good idea. When today I realize I just don't have to worry about that much, and I can't fix everything. And even when I think I'm right, I'm probably not. And therefore, why are you getting involved?
There's you don't need to hear my opinion on everything. Is that what you're?
Yeah, so you just figure it out.
Yeah,
you can figure it out. There's some great freedom in that, right?
It's so nice. I remember my oldest son, when he was growing up, said he wanted to be a tattoo artist, and I sat there and he was an artist, and I said, "How are you going to make any money? What kind of career are you going to have with that?" Now he's one of the most prestigious tattoo artists in Arizona, touring, doing tours. I'm so proud of them. My daughters, I'm so proud of them and what they've done and with their lives and how they found their different callings. And then my youngest son, who just graduated from high school, and the future where he was going, he says, "I want to go to flight school. I want to be a pilot." And my wife's going, "You're going to go to college. You're going to go to college." And I said, "No, maybe not. Maybe not." And it's the freedom, as you just said, the freedom that on every level, from letting somebody pull in front of me on the freeway to buying somebody's coffee in front of me in line. I don't like it when I buy their coffee and there's 12 people in there, but it got it. But I wonder this, Tracy, and now I reverse it on you. I worry that it's my age, that I'm at 64 and I'm playing the back nine now. And is that part of it? And I'm hoping that isn't the reason, because I have so much to give and so much life to live. But I wish I would have done this 25 years. Maybe I wasn't ready, but I wish that people could experience what I experienced, and they can understand that servant life, that giving is so much better. And taking a breath and not saying, not having to have a clip for everybody's, and I hear it in my head still too. I go, I want to be a topper. Hey, I just got back from Europe, and I go, well, I went to work Europe. No, stop. Just let them celebrate their story. Right. And I see it used way too often, but I am really blessed. I'm blessed that I have the life I have now.
You said two words that go great together, and you texted to me, and when we were talking before the show, servant lifestyle.
Yeah.
What's that look like? And put those into some tangibles for our audience, because we both talk about the fact that there comes a point in your life when what you want is no longer as important as what you can do for somebody else. Talk to me about a servant lifestyle and what that looks like in your life today.
And it's funny you say that, because I wrote it, and I think I kind of hate that line, because I always thought I was living a servant lifestyle, but there was always something in it for me. At every level. Get home, hey, would you notice I emptied the dishwasher? Did you notice I vacuumed? Now it's doing things because you want to do good, or doing things when nobody's watching. That was told me a long time ago, do good things when nobody's watching. And it used to bother me. Teams would show up with cameras at a hospital during Christmas time, and hey, look at us. And I'm going, they got sick kids in the hospital in July and June too. You could show up. And you see a lot of athletes do that on their own, which I love that. So I always thought, here's this team trying to look at us, look at me. Mm-hmm. And I did that for years as a TV broadcaster. I'd show up and say, this is, you get me. Well, that shouldn't, and I'm getting more exposure. And now if I can just do it and lift people up or do good things when nobody's watching, that's, and not because there's money or a pat on the back or sex or drugs. But I wish I would have learned that again. Why don't they teach this in high school?
That's crazy. We talk about that all the time. Like, it's just like, I wish I could go back. I shared recently that not one person can go back and rewrite the words and the chapters of their life that already happened.
Yeah.
But every single person can make a change to alter what the ending looks like.
Wow.
And
that's good. That's deep, brother.
There's some deepness in that, but what there also is the idea that whether you're 64 or 47 or whatever age our listeners are watching, I'm still being influenced by 18-year-olds, 80-year-olds in my life. We just handed a chip to one of my guys that's 3 years clean and sober after 40 years of using heroin. And I'm going like, holy cow.
He's like royalty.
Right. He's like, really, like how did you make it out of 40 years? And he's saying, I still am learning. I'm still growing. Like it's not just about being alive. It's about living. He's now participating in his life is to the best of his ability and gets those opportunities. Talk to me a little bit about that, the opportunities that you get today. I know you're working for Honor Health. I know you're part of that, a big organization that's doing amazing stuff in the Valley. But some of the other things, you're talking about high school sports and doing the show on the weekends for almost no money because you get to lift up other people. Tell me what that feels like and the rewards you get from that beyond finance.
First off, when I really believe a lot, that I truly believe, and I never did before, that God has a plan. I never did. Never believed that. I thought I'm gonna control my own destiny, and so many people still do. I kind of come to realize that he got this. Well, I can try to do whatever I want, but my co-pilot's pretty good at keeping me in check. So where I am is where he wanted me to be. I don't know how I got there. 3 years ago, I kind of got a call and they said, hey, we're creating this position in corporate relations at Honor Health, the foundation. Would you be interested? I said, I know nothing about nonprofit. I know nothing about healthcare. Yeah. And like, what? And who is this? And I've grown into it and love it. And I never realized what a hospital, why they need to raise money. I said, oh, the government's paying for this, and insurance. I said, well, most people don't have enough insurance to cover it, and the government's not paying for all. People said, well, the government paid for the vaccine. I said, yeah, they did, but we had to buy refrigerators, have a dispersal plan, higher security, all this stuff. I said, we pay our nurses. We want to make sure it's clean. Yeah, you have toilet paper when you're in a hot. Yeah, we spend about $1 million on toilet paper a year. But on paper products. So I need to raise money for that, and also for research and growth and changing lives. Somebody told me once. I said, what if $100? What's that going to? I said, okay, a woman's having chemotherapy treatments. She's throwing up. She's so weak she can't drive home. We make sure she has a Uber ride home, that her car gets home, and she has dinner for 6 so she can feed her family. That's where $100 goes. People go, I get it now. So I had to learn all that. Kevin had to learn all that. And transforming healthcare, growing that, working with business leaders. I built those relationships with all the great businesses in town. They watched me on TV, or I covered their kids in high school, which has been really cool. McKesson, which we spend $1 billion with in I covered the regional director in high school. Clay Sabino was a great running back, went to Kentucky. His son just graduated from Sunny Slope and is now playing in Oregon, quarterback. So I've woven the high school stories into what I do in a daily life. The man who started Footprint, the great plant-based fiber base, Troy Swoop, played football at Mesa High, was a great wide receiver, and now he's got selling $2 billion with he's changing the world. So if I can weave all that together and celebrate all that is good in Arizona and promote good on the high school level, these young people who are faced with so many challenges, Trace, I'm so glad you're doing this, because they're faced with challenges that you and I, we experimented with drugs and we're teenagers, and now it's not. They're hopping in the Lamborghini and going 200 miles an hour to start with, the heroin and fentanyl and meth. If we can, and their mental health and what they had to go through with COVID, if we can slow the game down for that, and the game's going so fast. People ask me, I know you know sports. When Tom Brady was talking about retiring, they said he's not going to retire. The game is slowed down. He's seen everything. John Elway, when he wanted, he's going to retire. No, he's not, because the game is slowed down. And if we can get young people to slow the game down, but it's hard with all the social media, with the peer pressure, with the TikTok, the world that we live in. So much with AI is coming, bro, and it's good. It's scary. I remember when computers first came around. and oh, they're going to change the world, and or cell phones, and but they have, and hopefully good people manage it and we do good things with it. But I'm glad you're doing this, opening people's eyes, and I try to do it too. And I'm flattered and I'm humbled that you allowed me, because if just one person goes, Kevin McCabe's a good cat. I always worry that too. My insecurity that I'll leave here and go, God, he was sure, what an asshole. I'm glad he got it. If I'm not going to please everybody. No. But if somebody says, he's a pretty good cat, and maybe I should listen to what he says, that's okay.
Well, I'm going to tell you, from me and my audience, anybody that heard us today, thank you for being here. And if you heard anything on today's show that you just want to react to, reach out to Kevin on social media. Yep. You can find him in a lot of different places. But some of the stuff he talked about is being authentic with yourself, being real to the people around you, but also continuing to write your story. Join us next time. We look forward to seeing you again.
I hope you heard something today that gets you to take one small step into the version of the person that you want to be. For more content like this, subscribe to our channel below, or you can go on letsgorecovery.org. Until next time,